Well, it's funny. The whole thing of like, when you're directing like, video stuff or like TV or sketch or anything like that, it's like there's a lot of different things that like you have to keep track of, like the blocking, where they stand, where like they're at, like where the look, the lighting, sound, but like the performance kind of gets lost. It kind of like shuffles down, and like you're looking for the least amount of stuff to go wrong in every aspect. Where with like the audio thing, it really kind of showed me and kind of almost like taught me like that I could like really zero in on just the performance, and then because you're starting to kind of like listen to this stuff, and like it's like, oh, if you just read it, yeah, that's like it gets the point across because you're taking in the information. But what if it makes it so like it feels like this is happening in the space? So it's like doing the stuff of kind of going like, it's like, oh, it's up to us, like in the sound design, to decide. And even sometimes in the performance, it's like, remember, you start at the door, but then you walk up to them. So like have that energy kind of coming in. And because it's like, if you were just to read the lines as if we were just here staying static, but like, it's like, like we would speak at the same volume. But if I start to come up closer to you, I would get a little more quiet and intimate. So like you have to kind of remember that stuff within a scene. And that's the stuff that was like super fun to nerd out about. It's like, because I was never a theater guy. Like, I did like live sketch and stand up, and then went straight into like doing video sketches and TV stuff. And so to kind of like, feel like, it's like, like reading an Uta Hagen book and just being like, it's like, I know about acting, but it was really just like like very fortunate. And everyone was so good. Like everyone was just such a like these were all actors that were doing this stuff. It's like when you're directed like a comedian person, it's like they're just like you're like, well, it'll be funny and I'll have to work on it a bit. But like being so quickly able to, except for Lily Petrie, who's like very new to this stuff, like she was so good at kind of like I'd be like, it's like, oh, remember Lily, it's like kind of like if you're getting overwhelmed, you don't know how to process these feelings, so you're gonna start like crying, but you're angry that you're crying because you're kind of a teen kid that doesn't like they're trying to act tough. And then she's like, oh, okay, and then like does the scene, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's good, yeah, you're real, like it's like just completely was able to lock in. And like even with like London, like she's just destroying, like that character's so funny, it's like it's just a joke machine, but then like to like it's like I would have to remind her, I was just like, oh no London, so this scene, it's like it's actually kind of sad, and like, and her reaction, she's like, I don't want to be sad. I was like, use that. Like it was always so easy with London to kind of go like, it's like, just do you. Yeah, like that's the thing that was kind of overwhelming to me at first, was just like and I made a bunch of notes in the script of like, like this is what I think should sound like. This is like different, like we should put a cue in here. We should have them separate and make this person pacing around, stuff like that. And like I never done anything like this, so it's like I was like, hey, see if you can do it. I don't know, like it's just like, and I thought it was going to be like library sounds or whatever, and like. Then when we got our first pass back from Mumble, I was just like I was like, what? This is possible? Like, and then like then your brain starts spinning. You're like, could you also make it sound like you start to really like kind of like dive in. They were such good collaborators in that way, where they kind of like showed us what was possible. And then like when you don't have the the vocabulary for like that world, because it's like, can the portal sound bigger? It's like what does that even mean? Like like it's like I need it to be like 10 feet bigger, and you're like, but that's spatial stuff, and like and so I try to start going like maybe like bring in like the low end, like bass it up, and maybe that if there's a rumble, they're like, we got you, and like they were very. It was like, yeah, and at times that's like I was starting to go like I think I might be adding too much, and then like we scaled back some of the sounds and stuff like that. But it was exciting because it just like. The idea of just like being able to close your eyes and still take in such a visual story was very, very important to me. Yeah, I mean, like it's like I'm not like it's. I was a horror kid growing up. Like it's like in like when horror and fantasy would combine. Like I think Legend is like I consider that a horror movie. It was a horror fantasy. But it's like I always enjoyed it, and I always liked that genre because I grew up like in the '80s where there was like just a ton of fantasy being made, and so like it's like. I like it, but it's that feeling where you get into like maybe a community or a group of friends or something like that know more about it than you, and so you kind of retreat because it's like you're like, well, I'm like I don't like it as much as them, so I guess I don't like it. Which is like like I'm not saying that that's like nerd culture, gatekeeping stuff in general, but that was just like a personal like thing that happened to me where I was like, you start to go, well, I don't really know much about it. Like, it's like, do you like fantasy? It's like, yes, I do. And then like, like, do you like this one? You're like, I don't know. And they're like, oh, you poser, because I grew up like a punk rock kid where it's like, you could just like the fear of being called a poser was just like, life or death. And so like, I do like it so much. And I did watch a lot of kind of like the older stuff that from my youth, like revisited, Never Ending Story and Labyrinth. I mean, like I'm a huge Labyrinth kid, but also I was way into David Bowie. So it's like, when I was just like, you can combine all my favorite things, Yeah, like for this one, I thought a lot about Taika Waititi stuff. Taika with Hunt for the Wilder People, and of course like What We Do in the Shadows, which is a little jokey, but Jojo Rabbit, which I think is. It's like it's funny and it's light and it's stylish, but then there's these like gut punch, like moments, and that's like the thing that I thought. And like I grew up being obsessed with Mel Brooks, and so like his stuff is always so good because it's like like the earlier stuff where it's like he wasn't doing straight up parodies; it was just like a funny version of that. Like also, Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg movies. It's like I thought a lot about. Shaun of the Dead, which is not like a parody of zombie movies, it's a funny zombie movie. And so with this show, it's like and there was like an early kind of version of like where this was kind of like had a lot more references to like like Potter and stuff like that, but like we stripped them all out, and like it made it better because now it's not just it can exist on its own. It could just be a fantasy thing that is really funny and and yeah. So yeah. Can you keep down? Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like it's like those are the kind of directors that I'm obsessed with, and like So Felicia and I had known each other for years, and we're buds, and we worked on a show for a few seasons, and on the last season I directed her, and then there was like. That was the first time we had that dynamic. We had like performed together, and we were buds. We'd done cons and interviews together. We were friends, but like that was like the first time like where it's like we really found like it's like, oh wow, that's like there's a nice little back and forth here. Like it's like we both kind of like we like the things in each other that like work well for us, And like she'll give me like a note on something, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's great. Like and then like and vice versa. And so she was kind of gearing up to do this thing, and she's like after I was directing that stuff. She was like, would you want to like maybe meet about directing on this thing? And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know anything about that world. Like and I've never even like directed like a cartoon, and like and she's like, yeah, but like you have my head. I mean, like I'm gonna be like inundated with like being the star, where it's like where it's like and I've been in that same position before, where it's like it's my show, it's my thing. Like it's like and then. You start to feel that your performance is less than because like you're involved in so many aspects of it. So she knew that I would help her stay as narcissistic as possible to be able to really do a good performance. And so yeah, that's kind of how like it worked out, and I kind of be like more stoked. I just like it's her thing, and I just like it's weird to even talk about like it was like I directed it. I was like, but like I just like helped her facilitate this amazing idea, and that's like the thing I'm really excited about. I know I know, yeah. Well, yeah, we must, but it was weird the way it was set up. Like even like it's like there was like because they had little sound stuff around them, and like we didn't want to move too much during the thing. But I know we did, and I think we talked about it a bunch. You're just setting up. You know what? I think we had like Zoom cameras set up for like Audible to like tune in, and I bet those were recorded. Yeah, but like it's funny because like I remember like just letting go like ooh like just standing hands down. And I was like run and move, and like she's like why? And I was like because it doesn't sound right. And then like she did it like she's like oh, and then she's like oh. It's like I'm gonna move. But yeah, that was it. Like we should have just done the whole thing. That would have been like the best bonus thing. It's like, and now here's the video version where it's just